we need to move from the culture of fixing to the culture of nourishing. You had to compress much of what I had shared today, moving from a fixing to a culture of nourishing through positive psychology and strengths and through purpose. And the combination of positivity and purpose is so strong and effective that will bring peak performance naturally, not by force, but by manifestation of what is best in people.
You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Welcome back to another episode. With us today is a senior organizational consultant with Gozal Consulting, Alfredo Borodowski. He's an international speaker and author and a consultant specializing in peak performance through the power of positive psychology, helping individuals maximize their potential by leveraging the character strengths. And his equation, positive plus purpose equals peak performance, has helped leaders and organizations achieve and sustain their goals. Alfredo, so excited to have you on. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Chris. Thank you for having me. It's a rainy day in New York. Apparently the spring doesn't want to come to us. Then I was in Dallas at the conference, 100 degrees, steamy, and then landed in LaGuardia where 60 degrees and raining. The spirit is high.
Yes, the spirit is high, even when the weather isn't cooperating for us. And we definitely feel that downside of the cold, rainy spring that hasn't come to us yet, but it's still waiting. But so excited to have you on. We always like to ask our entrepreneurs and consultants, tell us about your journey. What were you doing before that kind of led you into the world that you're in today?
For me, there is really a before and after. And there are some people that have that luxury adventure, or in my case, big crisis that cut my life in before and after. And that for me happened at a very specific time, day, and year, happened at 10 in the morning on June 19th of 2013. Precisely.
Wow.
Yes, when I was arrested. I was arrested for impersonating a police officer. And at that point, I was a rabbi of a very prestigious congregation in Westchester, very large congregation. I was rabbi to CEOs from Prime Media, to executive vice presidents of Paramount, the CEO of MetLife. I had half of Wall Street as my congregants. I have senior partners of the top law firms in Manhattan. Then I was on top of the world, Chris. And I also was working for a foundation, and I had an office facing Central Park. I would come every morning, put my feet on the desk, a coffee, look through the window at Central Park. And coming from Argentina as an immigrant for low middle class in Argentina, being seated there facing Central Park, I said, I made it.
The life.
The biggest you can go. And I never thought about positivity, about peak performance. I was there. I was the king of positivity and peak performance until I was arrested and lost basically everything. And what happened to me is that I was manic. I was taking the wrong medication and antidepressive. And a congregant of mine, a retired police, gave me one of those Shield on Family. And he said, Alfredo, with this one, you will have no problems. And then the problems began because with the mania and the wrong medication, the Shield, and my grandiosity, I began going around the highways of New York, telling people how to drive. Until that morning of June, I showed the badge to a young woman. And 3 minutes later, I had 3 police cars behind me, and I was arrested. I learned this a few months later. That lady was the fiancée of one of the policemen in town.
Oh, no.
Then I was taken to the prison, straight to court. Was arrested, accused of impersonating a police officer. I was fired from my great jobs on that week, was hospitalized with suicidal thoughts. I was diagnosed bipolar, which I didn't know at that moment. And because I was a rabbi of a very prestigious congregation, the press made a circus out of me, and they baptized the rabbi with a new name, the Road Rage Rabbi. And the Road Rage Rabbi was on front pages of newspapers from Japan to Ireland. It went viral. I didn't touch anybody, no violence, but, what more attractive than a rabbi impersonating a police officer? And from there, everything was down the hill. I went into deep depression. I had 4 cases against me on different courts. I couldn't drive until the cases were over. My lawyer recommended that. And I was on a couch in complete darkness and no sense of future, in misery, until one morning I felt an energy and pushed me to go up to my office. And I walked into my office, and on top of the desk, I found something that changed my life. There I found a file, a yellow file. I opened it, and I read the top 5 strengths of a test I had taken on positive psychology: creativity, love of learning, curiosity, perseverance, and courage. And something turned inside of me, an energy said, wow, Alfredo, you had forgotten who you are. And a month later, even being depressed with court cases, I went back to school, social work, and became a social worker, and then an expert on positive psychology, making sure that everybody knows their 5 top strengths, because it's essential to fulfill your destiny, to be yourself. I had lived a fake life. My parents wanted me to be perfect, and I was perfect for them. And what can you be more perfect than a human? A rabbi, a little God on earth. I tried to be the most perfect possible human being by satisfying my parents' crave for my perfections. And it was until I was able to discover my 5 top strengths of positive psychology that I began the journey of being authentic. And I imagine that many people listening have this problem of being shaped, not according to who they want to be, but a lot of pressure and people who basically push them in a direction that now we're wondering, what am I doing here? And I want to make sure that everybody knows the 5 strengths, because that's the way to open the gate to self-fulfillment.
And I can tell you a lot of people are struggling with that, just being down on themselves, or they hit an obstacle and they don't want to persevere, or they just lack the spark or the drive to want to be creative, or just any of the 5 that you mentioned. For you to be in such that low point in your life to turn things around. I know many other people who either went through similar things, or they're just so down on themselves that it seems so impossible for them to pick themselves up again. This to be your message that you want to connect with people. I know our audience wants to hear it. Incredible story here. Tell me more about the peak performance culture, how you're able to bring that positivity using the 5 pillars there. How does it work? How can it benefit people? Tell me all about it.
Put it in a simple way. You have a leak at your basement, okay? And you call an emergency plumber. And the plumber comes with a lot of knowledge and good intentions and just says, I forgot my toolkit at home. You are going to go through life with a lot of good intentions and wisdom and encouragement and motivation. You don't have your toolkit. You're not going to be able to operate on peak performance. And your toolkit are your top 5 strengths of positive psychology. The 5 top strengths are the ones who you feel more authentic, motivated, use naturally, and perform best. And we know from studies that 70% of people, Chris, do not know the top strengths. Then 70% of people walk through life without applying what they already have But because they do not know that they have them, they do not apply them to their full potential. Then the first thing that people should know are the top 5 strengths. And we know also from very serious studies, these were done in New Zealand with a lot of workers, that your top 5 strengths, you will operate 9 times more effectively than not knowing them. By knowing them, not applying them, just being aware, 9 times more flourishing, more effectiveness. If you apply them 19 times, then people are walking through life operating 19 times below what they naturally could do by being ignorant of what they already have. And that has to end, okay? And people have to know their top strengths. There are 24 strengths of positive psychology: humor, courage, love of learning, forgiveness, leadership, that people have a different order according to their preferences, according to their experience, natural abilities. And it's amazing when you know them.
It's incredible that just by being aware of what they are, or even just a few, how much that can change our behavior and our productivity going forward. Because I know all these business owners are trying to maximize their productivity, but I feel like they're always bogged down with the details. They're just busy in their business, or something else distracts them, that they're not able to really focus and take action to get more results. It's like they're spinning their wheels. It's just a challenge for them.
There's no alignment between strength and goals. There must to be an alignment between the strengths and goals. And if you set goals without knowing your strengths, you go in all directions, and then you feel empty at the end. Because the goals do not fulfill the core of who you are. And when we are in a corporate culture where it's so much about crisis and putting out the latest fire, then you develop what I call a culture of fixing instead of a culture of nourishing. And we love to fix, by the way. There is something about fixing, especially to the nails. I changed the light bulb. Now I am fulfilled. Then I put the nail there, that I am fulfilled in the chair that was falling apart. We are fixers, that we are looking for a crisis to become one.
We can fix that thing.
Then we can fix it. And then we go with a magnified glass, looking everywhere where we can fix something, and something must be broken. When we know from positive psychology that peak performance and efficiency are the result of maximizing what it works. Now, clearly fixing gives you power because you're always fixing somebody else. And then it creates a very powerful relationship, authority. Instead of nourishing, you may feel that you're losing control over the other. Okay, but we know that real peak performance is maximizing what it works. And I can see that when I go to corporations, it takes me 2 minutes just listening to the CEO or to the managers if they are on a fixing mentality or a nourishing mentality. And if I can notice that in 2 minutes, imagine the people working there every day.
They've been saying it for months, and you found it out in 2 minutes. And that has to be tough for the leaders and CEOs to have that accountability to say, here's what's not right, but we can fix it if you're willing to fix.
We have this idea that to fix is to achieve a goal. Usually fixing has to do with returning the crisis to a normal state.
If they never really fix it.
If they fix it, usually is recomposing, returning to the prior to the crisis. That's what fixing does. I fix the pipe is not leaking anymore. Nourishing is about building to the next stage of development. Then the fixing mentality is going actually to stop you while you may have the illusion that you're moving forward. While the nourishing, it takes sometimes more work, but it's going to move you forward. And usually that's done by creating a culture of strengths. And the first thing I want to do, because those listening may say, okay, Alfredo is talking about the top 5 strengths. You should know then there is blindness, 70%. Not, again, how do I know my top? Fine, I tell you. And I'm going to make it very easy for everybody. If you're listening, take your phone. I give you 3 and text the word positive 233777. Okay? And I will send you the 24 strengths of positive psychology and a few questions that will help you choose and determine your top 5 strengths.
That's
It takes
wonderful.
50 minutes. And then I'm going to give you a couple of exercises that you can use to practice them. And those who want to go a little bit deeper, you can set a call without string attached to discuss them. But you can get them by yourself from a chart in 15 minutes by texting. And everybody should know the strengths and should give them to their family and friends, the same chart. Have discussions with your kids, what your strengths are, with your why, what your strengths are, and begin understanding what people are good and strong at, and help them get where they want to get based on their strengths instead of going against what they are good at and have completely different life.
And it's great. It's funny because after learning about the 5 pillars, knowing that there were 24, I was like, if only I could get a copy of that, because I know so many people are willing to help themselves if they have the knowledge. And that's why I appreciate you sharing that knowledge and with the value first mindset, where let me just teach and educate people. If you want the next step, that's available. But it's not only just for you, for business owners, but it's for parents, it's for kids. These are things that we should be teaching and sharing to others, especially if it has such a positive impact on us. Teach that to other people. Let them elevate and lift themselves up too.
I tell you, Chris, the self-esteem, it goes through the roof when you give it to a kid, to a spouse. Clearly, when you are on your next performance at work and you give it to somebody working with you and they talk with each other about what are your strengths, and you begin assessing somebody else on the positive, and you begin giving them tasks where there is some kind of matching between the best of the person and the best of the task. It gives potentializes things. Again, positivity plus purpose equal peak performance. It's a 2 formula.
Absolutely. And I know for all of our business owners out here, it's great to have the Textiful resources. Is there anything available online, the podcast, books, YouTube, or videos that might be helpful for someone who wants to dive even deeper beyond the tips that you share?
That's a timely question, Chris. There is something new on the market. It's a revolution. It's going to a game changer. It's called the purpose factor. It's a new instrument, just maybe 2-3 months old, that is the first instrument to map the purpose of a person and the purpose of a company. With 10 years of research, it's an instrument that somebody can take in 25 minutes. It delivers you a report of 49 pages on purpose. It's the most comprehensive, detailed, accurate description of a person's purpose. It's amazing. I work with instruments. I work with the Myers-Briggs at corporations on styles, personality styles. I work with the VIA, Values in Action, which is about positive psychology. Now I am adding to the portfolio the purpose factor, and we get also the purpose of the person and the company. And that powerful combination, personal style, character strengths, and purpose. It's new. There are only like 200 people who are certified on that instrument. I am one of them. Then I am glad to be a pioneer, to be on the forefront of this. I give in English. I speak Spanish. I work also with South America. And I'm so glad that the Spanish version is coming out. Then I will be one of the first ones to bring the new instrument to South America. I think that's something that I can discuss with people. If they get the information that I gave, you can text me, but that's a new frontier. Purpose, and do not explore their purpose at the same time, are going to lose the core values, the direction, and all the efficiency that AI can give you. Actually, is going to create a backlash. We are seeing now spikes on depression at work as AI is being introduced. If you do not upgrade the human, you upgrade the technology, the consequences are going to be beyond negative. Then companies that need to invest and work on purpose and strength as they incorporate technology.
I completely agree. And I love that your resource really focuses on what I think is just the biggest obstacle that many people face is the purpose, the why. They just get stuck, and if they don't understand their why and the purpose, that gives them no direction, and they need that direction to take action. So they can feel confident in like, okay, this is the plan. This is what I'm working towards. The fact that it kind of uncovers that is that biggest first obstacle that many people face is just understanding the purpose.
Consulting with the company, as I always do before going to meet them, I read as much as I could about the company and look at the website. And at the very bottom of the website, the last segment, they were the core values of the company. And with very nice graphics with the values. And I said, wow, these values are very much the values of positive psychology. And the company is a new company. They got it. Then I led a workshop on strengths and core strengths of positive psychology, and I asked how many people knew about the core values of the company. None, not even the CEO, not even executive vice presidents. They never scrolled down to the end of their own website, and they said, well, people are unmotivated. That's why they brought me, lack of motivation. And I said, clearly, you had the values, you had the purpose. You just ignored it. I said, the work here is easy. There are other companies who never thought about it. Now you need to rediscover who you are. Just rediscover who you are or who you were. And when we uncover the top 5 strengths of each person at the senior management level, and then we compare their top 5 strengths of positive psychology to the strengths on the website. There were a lot of lines connected then. And I tell you, the energy went through the roof. Was an alignment between strengths and objectives. To remember, we talked about it. An alignment between strengths and objectives. And the energy went all the way up. Then we created a plan to maintain the energy, that things are sustainable, and they have been sustaining that motivation, going back to the values.
It's so inspiring to hear stories like this because when you uncover those individual strengths, it's like you're giving them a voice at the table and saying, how can you best serve us, but really highlight and use all your assets? And now they're excited. One, they're listening to me. They care about what I could bring to the table. And now they want me to take action on that. And now you have this team of people putting in their best assets forward. And now you're like, okay, is there anything we can't do? Like that is such an unstoppable force. That's a lot of momentum to get a business going and to even maintain it. That's incredible.
Finished with the strengths, everybody in the company becomes unique. Everybody unique has a set of strengths that brings to the table. And we create what they call a market of strengths. That's your strength, that's my strength. Let's collaborate, new collaborations, new synergies, all come out of that knowledge of how strong I am, and not the usual performance of how weak, or what I need to improve, what I am not doing well. And by the way, it works very nicely because once you feel strong, begin working on your weaknesses. That's a natural progression. But you begin with the weaknesses, you do not move to the strengths. Doesn't work both ways because you become unmotivated and frustrated.
That is some good advice. I find myself falling into that trap, focusing on the negative. What can I work on the bad stuff first? And I just lose all motivation.
No, you have to begin first in what works. And that's a paradigm that has to be changed. Okay, had to be changed.
Absolutely. And all of that really starts with us within our own minds and just learning the information and putting it into practice. But all of these are great tips and tricks. Alfredo, I want to ask, is there anything we haven't talked about yet that you want to share with our audience here?
Well, we can spend lifetime talking.
It's
Truly. That's not a problem for me. But I tell you, I want to put things in one statement. We need to move from the culture of fixing to the culture of nourishing. You had to compress much of what I had shared today, moving from a fixing to a culture of nourishing through positive psychology and strengths and through purpose. And the combination of positivity and purpose is so strong and effective that will bring peak performance naturally, not by force, but by manifestation of what is best in people.
I love it. Some great advice and tips and tricks here. I'll also have the number and links down in the show notes so you can text positive to 33777. You can get connected with all of the great value and information with Alfredo here. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey, the positivity, the way you've been helping people, and how it can motivate people, especially when they're stuck in this rut of just the sadness, depression, lack of direction. How do we change that? And I feel like this is a great foundation for a lot of those people.
Thank you, Chris. And look, each time I go to show, to podcast, I leave with the feeling that at least one person, I hope a lot of them, but will know the strengths, moving to the positive of their journeys. And thank you for giving me a chance to do that and asking great questions, which is essential in this kind of dialogue.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. It's always great to meet other fantastic people, and the fact that they're sharing their time and knowledge with us just helps us as entrepreneurs. It helps our audience. And if there's any way we can work together and have that mutual benefit, this is what it's about: working together, sharing knowledge, and helping to lift each other up. Thank you for being a great person and bringing that positivity to the rest of the world. We need more people like you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much.